Hi, my name is Wayne Huell, and I'm MBA graduate student at California Intercontinental University. And my class today that I'm having a presentation for is Leadership Development and Organization. And I thank you for joining the presentation today. So the presentation today is talking about engagement and do we need more engagement? And the organization is Regional Health Management Organization. And just to give you a little bit of background information, this is a healthcare organization, and the CEO had a meeting with the other leaders, and they discussed different topics. But the main topic was that the CEO felt like the people were not engaged and that they could do a much better job. So they decided to have a consultant come in and conduct a survey, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And as you can see here on the slide, there's a couple of comments where the CEO Magat expressed her concern that employees were too laid back and they did not have a sense of urgency. And so the other managers also agreed that they were not engaged. And again, as I mentioned earlier, they hired a consultant to conduct a survey. And I'll go through those survey results in a minute, and then I also would share how I would help them to improve that situation. So here are some of the employee engagement survey results that I thought were very important. And the first one here is that 45% of the employees say no to the opportunity they have to use their skills each day. So it appears that employees are being underutilized. The next bullet, 56% of the employees say no to putting full effort into their job most days. So based on what the CEO said that they were not engaged and they were too laid back, that would be true. And so we need to figure out how to fix that situation. 62% of the employees say no to the opportunities at work to learn and grow. As we all know, we want to feel like we are bringing value to a company. So part of that is learning and growing in the process. Otherwise, we get bored and we go do something different. 59% of the employees said that they perform work from home, which involves little interaction with coworkers. And some of the employees, the way it was set up initially, they probably did not have to take work home, but now they do. So that's causing a problem with work-life balance for them. 31% of employees say that they are not satisfied with their salary, compensation, and benefits, which that's maybe a problem, and that may be why there's such a high turnover within this organization. 66% of the employees say no to them working at the company for the next 3 years. And also this lends to the fact that the turnover is high because people are leaving. They don't feel valued, and I'm assuming that they don't feel valued, and that's why they're leaving. So based on the survey, management must focus on a few things. This is a few topics that I picked out. They need to focus on employee satisfaction, employee self-motivation, improvement in productivity, and also they need to reduce employee turnover. So one of the things I think is very important to get through to the employees, first of all, is that you must have clear communication and clear expectations. So for people to perform well and to continue to learn and grow, they need a clear perception of what is expected of them. We all want to know what is expected because no one wants to fail. So you will fail if you don't understand what's expected. And the expectations of the position become the standard by which the performance will be judged. So you have your goals and expectations, and that's what you're being judged on. If a team member is supposed to contribute 3 new ideas each month for improving operations, coaching is justified when an average only 1 idea per month is forthcoming. This is just an example of how the goal should be measurable. Another area that the company should focus on is to build better relationships. They need to establish a connection with the team members. Coaching and development relationship with the employees, and what that means is that everyone's heard the point of having one-to-one meetings. I think that's very important so that you have more personal connection with your supervisor, and the manager is really responsible for doing that. And I think employees really appreciate it as well. You need to be an active listener. Listen to what the employees are saying and respond accordingly. And you can't be an active listener if you're doing all the talking. So that's one thing that managers need to understand is that when employees say something, they need to listen, then they do something with it. And also give emotional support, which helps in relationship building. And I found that if you get to know people on more on a personal level than just a business level, like ask them, how their family's doing, how they're doing, and they will respond to you accordingly. And then that relationship becomes better because it's not just focused on business. There's also a connection on a personal level. So another thing that's I believe it was brought out in the story that we read about the health organization is that they need to coach the team members toward higher levels of performance. And, basically what that means is that they need to not only let them understand what is expected, but coach them along the way. So if you see them faltering in one way or another, reset with them to get them to perform at a higher level. And I'll talk a little bit more later about how you can also influence people to do better by rewards and recognition. And if there's a specific behavior or attitude or skill that require improvement, that needs to be something that's discussed with the employee or the team. And then give specific feedback and avoid just being given generalities or exaggerations. Be specific when you're talking to the employees. Also, leaders should observe performance and behavior directly. That means you have to be involved. You have to go out. If it's a manufacturing situation, you go out and you see what they're doing out in their actual job environment. And according to this health organization, they should, instead of making observations saying, well, they're not engaged, someone needs to go and talk to them and figure out what's going on so they can fix that problem. And also, when you give feedback, make sure you give positive and negative feedback. No one wants to hear negative feedback all the time because nobody's doing everything bad. And that's what we had to understand. Even in my career, at times there's only been negative feedback, but sometimes you need that positive feedback to go along with it so that you know you're doing something good, although you may not be up to par in another area. So as we've talked through HMO company, the health organization, one thing I think that would be important is that they need to be active listeners, as we talked about previously, and they need to grasp what is being said, and also not just the facts, but look at the employee and also pick out the feelings, and that way you can get to the root cause of whatever the issue is where they're not engaged, so that you can fix that. And then also observe nonverbal communication. That's body language. Sometimes you're in front of someone and they may be agreeing with you, but based on their body language, there's another situation going on in their mind. So it's important for you to figure that out and get them to communicate, really what's going on so that there's understanding between you and them and whatever situation is can get resolved. And one thing you also have to work on when you're listening and also trying to remove obstacles is that you got to be patient. And not everybody works in the same way. And I think with the HMO, they need to go out and understand exactly what is going on, and they may have to deal with people differently, based on their personalities. And also encourage the person being coached, not just tell them everything bad as we discussed earlier, but encourage them and say, hey, what do we need to do a little bit better, and give them opportunity to answer the question. And also, I just mentioned on the question, ask open-ended questions. And then if they have any obstacles that's preventing them from reaching their goals or productivity, then it's your job as a manager to help them overcome those obstacles. And also, if they need something approved from a higher manager, it's really the manager's job to work up toward with the higher level managers to get what the employees need to do their job. So another important area is you need to be able to give emotional support. And within this case study that we're discussing now, Uh, it feels like they were not close enough to the employees to really understand what was going on. And I'll use an example, with COVID going on currently, the pandemic. Right now, you don't know what's really going on with people. So as it relates to this story, we need to make sure that if someone brings a situation to you, you show empathy and you give emotional support and you be constructive and as helpful as you can be. And also in coaching sessions, make sure you're not being, conducting like interrogation, just question after question. But basically, you're going to ask open-ended questions, as we mentioned previously, so that the employee has an opportunity to answer the question. Even if it's a yes or no question, you get an option to say yes or no versus, asking them a question after a question, which can be very uncomfortable. If you ever, seeing how somebody's interrogated when with the police, no one wants to be in that situation. Also use positive motivators. So, and display empathy with employees. I mentioned that before because empathy is very important. Some people don't really understand what empathy is, but really it's trying to put yourself in that person's shoes and give them support at the time that they need you to give them support. And also, one thing that is very helpful is at the end of the conversation, you can rephrase and then summarize what you believe the employee said so that you have a good understanding and that that they understand or they believe that you understand what they said. That was kind of a tongue twister, sorry. So this slide's talk about giving gentle advice and guidance. And basically what that means is that when you give advice, you can't be really stern. Otherwise the people gets on the defensive. So workers being coached expect to receive some advice. So make sure when you have a one-to-one meeting, there's some advice also given. If you say, hey, you're not meeting this expectation, you give them an example of what you think it should be. And I believe that would also help the health organization company that we're talking about because if the people are not engaged and everybody notices that they're not engaged, uh, having to talk about it in the senior leadership meeting and not actually getting any of them involved in the conversation, you're never going to get it solved. So it was a good thing they did actually hire a third party to do a survey to see exactly what was going on. And also give your advice in the form of a question. It's usually a lot more effective than being a statement. As an example, you say, well, how are things going? And that's open-ended where they can answer the question versus you saying, well, I think you're not doing things right. Then the person's on the defensive and you won't get anything solved. And then answer employee questions and then help them to make whatever improvements they are, whatever support you can give to make those improvements happen. That's really what a manager's job is. And then leave the person the choice to accept or reject the input. So if they disagree with you, what you need to do is just understand what their viewpoint is, and you have to accept that. So I talked about earlier about recognizing people when it comes to results. But another thing I want to mention is that when there's a commitment, you need to gain a commitment, which and what I mean by that is you should talk to everyone and get them to accept the commitment and say they support the commitment as well. Um, so if you receive a commitment from the team members, then it'll be a lot easier for things to progress. If people are resisting and you don't know they're resisting, they could be throwing roadblocks in that you don't really understand. So that's a good thing to do is gain commitment. And also when there's a good thing that's been done or has been done, you need to applaud those results and recognize the people or the team that achieved the results. That goes a long ways, pat on the back with employees. And then also, if things are not quite going the way they should be, instead of you know talking to them about how bad they are or they need to do this and you do that, give them encouragement. Encourage them to, hey, you can do this. You know, have you thought about this to help them to think a little bit different to get to where they need to be? And also, when you do applaud good results, you're reinforcing good behavior or positive behavior. So, in conclusion, I just want to summarize a few points here. With the HMO company, they need to really take the engagement survey seriously. It's broken down by, I went through the percentages early on the things they need to focus on, and I think I did a decent job at least talking about what I would do to help. But in conclusion here, an effective technique is to show the team members by example what the desired behavior should be. It could be a behavior, it could be a certain way to do things out in production area or whatever area it may be for this company. And if managers appear to be disengaged or don't have a lot of interest, then employees will also show less engagement towards what they want them to do. So that goes with leading by example. And then engagement starts from the top and trickles down to the different levels of the organization. So leaders, top leaders, on down, managers, supervisors, you have to be engaged and you have to show people you're engaged and that something's important, and then they will follow you. And coaching employees also helps with engagement because you have an opportunity to redirect them using empathy and also to get their buy-in. The health organization can improve engagement by using the tools and techniques discussed in this presentation. Employees need to feel better about their jobs at the HMO company, which will help them be satisfied and more engaged, which in essence will also hopefully reduce the turnover rate that they have with employees. And then another thing the company needs to do is give employees more rewards, recognition, and opportunities for growth. If people get bored and they don't see any growth opportunities, they're going to continue to leave, even if you reward them or recognize them. So they also have to have a feeling that they're bringing value and that they're growing. So thanks a lot for watching my presentation. I hope you learned something as you went through this. And again, thank you for watching.